ignore. The UK just marched. The media said there was 110,000 in attendance. The media are just lying.
So we should trust some random TikToker instead of multiple news outlets and the police. Okay, but go on. I just want to hear the rest.
And recently, just in Nepal, well, the people literally just burnt down government buildings after attempts to control speech and ban social media.
That's not what happened in Nepal at all. Basically, Gen Z, the younger generation, rose up using the straw hat symbol as a way to spread anti-corrupt government rhetoric, because the government was corrupt. It was basically benefiting off the poverty of the people, and people were starving, and they were getting richer, going on luxury holidays and all this kind of stuff, living in luxury cars and hotels, whatnot, and the people were just getting absolutely screwed. So they tried to protest and do all these different movements together on social media, and it was then that they banned social media. So you missed out like 90% of the story, which goes to show like you're very under-researched. Like you literally don't read anything. But we should trust you, right?
We can feel it. Think about the level of indoctrination it takes to convince people to give kids hormones and irreversible surgeries.
Okay, in the West, it's not like every kid is basically rushing to go get hormone surgery. Like, it's actually off the table. Like, it's not an option. It's illegal in the West, especially Australia, UK, and the US. Many states have just outright banned it altogether. And unless if you've got extreme medical circumstances, or, you know, you have to play around with the courts a little bit, then maybe there's an exception, but it's not the majority. It's not like indoctrination. In other words, this is just a fact everywhere in the West.
Think about the insanity of pushing DEI laws, where skin color and gender suddenly matter more than merit. Think about the
is actually the exact opposite. Like what you're describing, like focusing on people's merit, is what DEI attempts to achieve. Here's a clear-cut example. Let's say that I was in the hiring process and my name was Raj. People wouldn't hire me in Australia because Indians are taking over Australia. And I've known personally Indian people that have had to change their names to English or Aussie names in order to get the same job, because people would not look at their 10 resumes when they applied to 10 different jobs using their real Indian name. But when they changed it to an Aussie name, like literally an English name, they were immediately accepted. That's an example of how DEI works. Instead of like, you know, basing people off their names and their culture or their background, they remove names from resumes and instead judge people based purely on their merit. That's how DEI works. So it's literally basing people on their merit. You saying that it's based on diversity shows that you don't understand what DEI is. Again, we're supposed to trust you, right?
lies around CO2, sold to us as the biggest threat to humanity. And worse,
To trust a pop star over all the science and all of the academics on this topic. Like, what is your background? If your background isn't literally, you know, anthropogenic, global warming or something along those lines, then why are you giving an opinion on this?
First of all, look at how strong young Australian men who just want to raise families, provide and protect, are being demonized as toxic and misogynistic.
The world actually celebrates strong men. Like, we look at Thor, he just pulled a 510 kilogram world record deadlift. But at the same time, it's just strong men when it comes to domestic violence or wife beating. That is the type of men that are being demonized. Like, when you talk about toxic masculinity, they're talking about domestic violence and abuse. And as long as you're not that kind of man, then it's fine.
And think about the mass flood of immigration, all during a time they're hammering in diversity is our strength. This hasn't happened by accident, it's been a slow drip, designed to weaken Western nations and destroy the way of life we once all knew.
I always find it hilarious when white Australians give an opinion on immigration, because they're literally immigrants. And not to mention, if you want to look at the statistics of how many people coming from overseas to Australia are prisoners, have a look. You'll notice that's actually people from New Zealand, the UK, and Vietnam. So if you want to go by like, oh, these people are slowly immigrating into Australia and they're destroying the Western world, well, why is it people from the West destroying it the most? Should we deport people from the UK, using your logic? It's a genuine question.
And then Charlie Kirk, assassinated in the US, still under investigation, but let's get one thing clear. The reaction from the radical left exposed them for who they really are.
Okay, it's interesting that you called out the radical left really fast, like, exposed them from this incident, but I'm pretty sure Charlie Kirk being shot by someone who was raised in a Christian white family exposed the exact opposite. Like Republican state, Utah, raised with guns, raised Christian, he confessed to his Christian church leader. Like his family was stated to be active, stated by all of his neighbors to be active in the church. Their social media accounts also proved that they were active in the church. If anything, it would expose Christianity, it would expose white males, because surprisingly, there's quite a lot of those kinds of shootings in America caused by that demographic. But apparently that exposes the radical left, but there's no mention of the actual shooter, the real cause of his death. We're just gonna blame some weird TikTokers dancing, okay?
They couldn't beat him with words, so they applauded the bullet that silenced him. Imagine the level of indoctrination you need to applaud that. Australians, this should terrify you, because if they support silencing Charlie, what do you think they want for voices like mine?
Okay, this is the only point that I agree with you on, and that is, it is wrong to silence people that disagree. It's okay to agree to disagree and to debate and have an open discord, but if you disagree, there's no way that you should resort to violence. What I disagree with is the fact that you're trying to pin this on the left by saying, like, imagine coming to this, like, this should terrify you if you're Australian. Well, you should be terrified of the types of people that committed this shooting. Like, you shouldn't be pinning this on left indoctrination and this crazy woke left, when it was a guy raised in a Christian household who was raised shooting guns because of that Christian background. He literally was still active. The reason why they found him, it wasn't because of the awesomeness of the FBI. It was not because of his father that he confessed. He didn't even want to confess to his father. He confessed to his youth church leader. So what does that tell us? That the people that are willing to silence people the most are coming from the same demographic that are doing all these public mass shootings in America. And nobody's calling them out. Why do you think that might be?